Welcome to Between the Shelves, the premier Save a Library podcast. I am your host, Alex, and on this week's episode, we're going to be talking about one of the most popular video game franchises of all time, Final Fantasy. And to talk about that with me, I brought in two of our Final Fantasy experts, in the Save a Library at least. First guest host this evening is Morgan from Head of Patron Services. Welcome, Morgan.
Hi, everyone. Happy to be back.
Good to have you here. And my fellow party member from Adult Services, Christina, is joining us.
Hello.
Hi, Christina.
Every time you call us experts in something, I'm afraid that someone's going to get in the comments with 85 corrections.
We can be experts on anything if we have the Wikipedia open. Sorry. I don't mean to label you experts. I don't want it mean to put that on you, but you're fans. We're both Final Fantasy fans. Is that fair?
Is amateur expert a phrase?
Amateur experts. So why are we talking about Final Fantasy? Or what is Final Fantasy, if you're not even familiar with that? So Final Fantasy is an anthology series of role-playing games. They started in 1987, I believe, and they've had now 16 serial games in that series, and Christina, help me out, 20 spin-off games, maybe?
I couldn't even tell you because there are sequels, there are offshoots,
there are remakes.
Spin-offs.
There's a lot of games in this franchise. It's extremely popular. It is the 9th most profitable video game franchise of all time. It has raked in $10.7 billion. And it has sold approximately 190 million copies.
That's crazy.
So it has definitely had an impact on world culture, I will say. It's a Japanese game or franchise, but it's extremely popular in the US and worldwide. In addition to the games, they have 3 feature-length films, which best probably not to cover them in this. Not varying degrees of success with those. And they have 2 miniseries, neither of which I have seen or were even aware of until I started researching this. One's an anime, and then one is CGI miniseries, I think. That was maybe a straight-to-internet release miniseries.
I've seen some of the Final Fantasy VII anime.
Okay. That must be the CGI one. I think it was like a 5 or 6 part. Doesn't matter. That's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the games. So, again, it's an anthology series, so every game is a standalone title, but they all kind of have common threads, and maybe you can all help me out kind of defining what makes a Final Fantasy game, or just, the general vibes of a Final Fantasy game. So it started in 1987, so there's been huge changes over the last 7 years? Something like 37. But some of the common threads, at least some that I've written down here, are there's usually a grand narrative that involves political strife, and usually there's apocalyptic stakes.
You have to fight a god.
Usually culminating in fighting God.
With other gods.
Yes. There's usually a focus, at least in the mid to later games, on your party dynamics. So you're not playing as usually one character, you're playing as a whole cast of characters, and in addition to this grand narrative, there's all these interplays and relationships between your party members that's usually has almost as much weight as the grand narrative in terms of the story. There's usually a theme of nature versus technology, at least in the mid to later games. And of course, there's chocobos. Do you want to describe a chocobo, either of you?
A chocobo is a very cute, giant chicken that's usually yellow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I was going to go with that.
Yep. They're a giant, cute chicken that you can ride like a horse.
Yes.
Basically. They're kind of the equivalent of a horse in the Final Fantasy universe.
And you can dig for treasure with them.
You can dig for treasure with them.
Mm-hmm. That's it. We nailed it.
Done.
Sometimes they can travel through water and up mountains.
Depending on the color of the chocobo.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
So, again, it's usually grand narrative, high fantasy concept games that are usually undercut with some silly to outrageous mini games and side quests to kind of break up the drama with just some comedy. I'm using air quotes to varying degrees of success. So that's kind of the feeling of a Final Fantasy game. But the games themselves, I think, part of their success is they always have achieved a high bar for like graphic fidelity. They're always beautiful, pushing the technology usually to its max for every platform they're on, and their scores. The soundtracks are usually stellar.
Yeah, 100%.
The composers are escaping me. Can either of you help me out with those?
Umatsu is one of them. He did at least 7 and possibly 8. The only one I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah. The soundtracks are iconic. I mean, there's literally orchestras that tour around the world performing just Final Fantasy soundtracks. Like they're
Yes, they're doing Rebirth next year.
Oh yeah? Have you seen them live before?
I have not. They just announced that they're doing Rebirth next year.
Is there anything I'm missing? Anything with the final that you can think of that kind of defines a Final Fantasy game?
There are like things that I always think to find them, and then when they're not in the game, I'm like, wait a minute, like the crystals used to be like a big part, and there are games without crystals.
Yeah, the
Moogles,
crystal.
some games don't have Moogles.
Which is like a kind of like a teddy bear sort of character that has like an anglerfish light thing that sticks out of their head, like the little like bulb.
Oh yeah.
Another thing that is sort of, this isn't like necessarily a Final Fantasy thing, but you can find it in most Final Fantasy games, is I already mentioned like the party members that comprise your playable characters. There's usually like very defined roles that each character plays, and then those kind of appear in every game. So there's like one character that's usually like a healer of some kind. There's one character who's kind of like a tough, damage-dealing kind of warrior kind of class person. And then there's, like usually like a mage sort of character who's, I don't know, like can cast big fireballs and stuff, and is usually a little quirky. So those kind of tropes usually carry over game to game, and it's always interesting to see like which character is going to slot into that kind of role for this game.
Yeah, there's always a martial artist too, and someone with a serious vendetta.
Yes, yeah. And there's usually a character named Sid. That's another thing we did.
Oh, yeah, Sid. It's not a Final Fantasy without a Sid.
Right. Which I don't even know, how did that get started? I don't even know. I mean, it's just like a weird thing they just decided to carry over.
Yeah, they also for a while were doing like a Biggs and Wedge kind of thing, where every game had a Biggs and Wedge.
I bet Star Wars put the kibosh on that really quickly. There was also a character named Marlboro that you could summon in the older games, and I was wondering if maybe the Marlboro, the cigarette company, was like, you got to stop this.
Oh no, they're enemies. I literally just fought one last night in Rebirth.
Marlboro?
A Marlboro.
But is it spelled like the cigarette company, or did it change it to like Marlboro or something?
How to spell the cigarette company. It's Malboro.
Oh, so that is like the cigarette. Interesting. Yeah. And that's like a fire character too, like, right?
Aren't they?
This one was like grass, maybe.
Oh.
In 16, there's one that lives in water that you fight.
Okay, maybe that's how they got around it. Because in the earlier games, the Marlboro character was like this cindery ash kind of monster. But I don't know.
When they do like the localizations, they always put in like jokes and stuff like for themselves, I think. Yeah.
This game is very self-referential in a lot of ways, and I think part of the success of the Final Fantasy series is it does undercut a lot of what the high fantasy stuff, like it does balance out this sweeping drama with like that's like beyond Shakespearean, like it's just crazy, like warring civilizations and like the end of the world is happening and everything, and they undercut it with humor and just the most ridiculous meta commentary stuff, which is always, as a player, nice to have like a little bit of change, because it's tough to sit through like what can be a 60-hour game in some cases, just going through like political drama and stuff.
Yeah, and I feel like even when you say that, like I think about how self-aware the games are.
Totally.
The best ones are the most self-aware ones.
Yeah, a lot of like the characters will just talk basically to the player, like with how meta some of their comments are. So I think we kind of covered, like, established what a Final Fantasy game is. I do have like tons of notes here on like the history of the thing, but I don't want to get too in the weeds. I want to keep this kind of like a relatively short episode, but I do kind of think of this franchise in like phases. So like the first phase from 87 to like 90 are Final Fantasy 1, 2, and 3, which I went back and played the first Final Fantasy last year, and I don't want to say it hasn't aged well, but it is like a very game of its time. Like it has very, very dated ideas of what is fun for a game. There's a lot of grinding. By that I mean you have to fight a lot of lower level enemies to slowly build your character up to be able to face higher and higher difficulty areas of the game. But what I will say about this first, and like Final Fantasy 2 and 3 are very similar. Very minor changes, but they do get gradually better, I think. But again, this first phase of Final Fantasy, I think why it became a successful franchise is because they took everything that was going on in gaming at that time and they really honed what makes a role-playing, like a good role-playing game. Like there's very little bad things about the game. It's extremely polished from the story, the battle mechanics, the graphics, everything you can tell is like super polished. Did either of you play any of the original ones? Or the original Nintendo?
Not for the original Nintendo, but when they were re-released, well, because there was like the controversy with how they released in North America. Mm-hmm. Like some of them had never been released here until much later because they had like screwed up the numbering here. But I believe that...
Yeah, 2 and 3 were not released in the US.
Yeah. I believe that the first one came on PlayStation with Chrono Trigger. It was a 2-disc.
Interesting.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Or there was one...
You're the expert.
I know.
Amateur expert.
There were two similar things where one was just a Final Fantasy game. So it must be Final Fantasy Origins that has at least one on it, which I do still own. Yeah.
I think 2 and 3 didn't make their way to the US until much, much later. Like
I think they
decades
were
later.
Released on PlayStation.
Yeah. So it would have been at least a decade later. So that is, the original 3, again, are kind of dated. 80s, original Nintendo graphics, if you're familiar, or the 8-bit graphics. Now, the next phase of Final Fantasy, I think, is 4, 5, and 6. I think they kind of pair well together. You move into Super Nintendo graphics. So you go from 8-bit graphics to 16-bit. So the fidelity more than doubles. The sound quality vastly increases. So that everything just gets a little bit nicer. And with that, Final Fantasy really pushes the bar again. They are staying very current with where the technology is at. And they're kind of pushing these consoles to their limits. So 4, 5, and 6 came out in 91, 92, and 94, respectively. Did either of you play? I know you, Christina, you played 6 recently.
But I haven't beaten it because it's hard and it doesn't have accessibility options, even though it's the Pixel remaster.
I feel like this is a really stupid question, but my brain is so scrambled lately. But 6 is when the main character has a tail, right? Or is that...
That's 9.
That's 9. Okay.
Is what you're thinking. 6
I'm
is
thinking
the
of
main
9.
character is Terra.
Oh, okay.
And you suplex a train.
I did not do that.
Famously.
Nope. I think I'm...
And the bad guy is a clown.
Oh, yep, no. I am I think I'm a 7 forward Final Fantasy player, but I do want to play the earlier ones. I just haven't had the opportunity.
It's quite a commitment.
They're hard.
So I don't know if we've mentioned it yet, but all of the games we've talked about, up 1 through 6, were re-released within the last few years as called Pixel remasters. So Square Enix now, the company that made these games, re-released them a few years ago with some quality of life improvements. So they have some things you can turn on to make the game let you level up faster. So it kind of helps with that grinding thing I was talking about earlier. So to help modern players with modern sensibilities kind of replay these games without having to go through the trudgery that was commonplace back then. So if you are planning on playing any of these games today, that's what I would point people towards. If you're interested in the history but don't want to slug your way through the game and deal with all the headaches and stuff that people had to deal with back then, those would be the ones to check out. Any other thoughts on 4, 5, and 6? Basically, from what I gather, I haven't played any of them up to this point other than the first one. But basically, they just kind of pushed the graphical prowess again like a little bit further. Their abilities at storytelling are getting more and more mature with each game. So, like I said, this is when the games 4, 5, and 6 are when the party member interactions start to get a little bit more complicated. The drama, the writing starts to get a little bit better. Where previously, at least in 1, the one that I played, the characters don't even speak, like, let alone have any sort of relationships with one another. They're just like, their names are literally like knight, mage, like wizard. Like they have no personality at all. But now in 6, even like up to 6, I mean, you can speak to it better than I can. They're fully fleshed out characters.
Yes, I think 6 definitely has like a more modern storytelling aspect to it than the games before it.
And
you're with characters for a long time. Sometimes you're with, like, the party will break up and you'll be with one character doing one thing, and then you'll have to go back and go do whatever the other characters also happen to be up to at that point in time.
Yeah, so they're even starting to play around with like plot structure too. So yeah, it's just like you can kind of track the history of video games like basically through Final Fantasy. Like, you can kind of see how the medium is maturing just through the Final Fantasy games. It's kind of interesting. And then the other thing we haven't really talked about through these first 6 games is the combat system. So that's kind of like the flip side to the story with any of these role-playing games. It's like half of it's story, half of it is the combat. And the combat's maturing as well. So it starts, the earlier games are very, very basic. Basically menus you're going through, like, to simulate combat. But as you start getting into the mid-90s with 5 and 6, they start introducing the active time battle system. So instead of going through a menu and taking your turns like Dungeons & Dragons or something back in the day, there's a little bit of a time element to it and more of a pressure in that sense. And you can start customizing your characters and tweaking how you want them to perform in combat based, there's like branching leveling systems and things like that. So it's giving the player much more freedom too, so which is a good thing. And then Final Fantasy VII is released. And this, I think, is a lot of people's introduction to Final Fantasy. At least it was for me, and it sounds like, Morgan, it was for you too. So in 1997, Final Fantasy basically takes a huge risk, and they abandon the Nintendo platform that they were synonymous with, 1 through 6, and they jump over to this new startup video game company called the Sony PlayStation. And it was a bit of a risk because they built up a lot of goodwill with Nintendo. They were very successful up to that point, but they jumped ship to PlayStation because PlayStation was a disc-based system as opposed to a cartridge-based system, which allowed them to basically have more storage and faster speeds and everything with discs versus the cartridge, so they could really take the graphics and the music and everything that they were known for much, much further than they could with Nintendo. So it was a big risk, but it was a big reward. This game is one of the most iconic games ever made. It is regularly listed in the top 100, if not the top 1 game of all time. So I just really quickly, GameSpot has it as number 2 on their top 100 of all time. Game Informer has it at number 7, and IGN's Reader Choice had it as number 1. Games of all time. It is completely iconic. I think I've said enough about how iconic it is. And it was, a smash hit. It sold millions of copies. I think I have the number here. $80 million initially. It swept Game of the Year awards that year. It was a phenomenon. And I think when people think Final Fantasy, this is the game they still point to. I think it was their high mark even to this day. And this game was so successful that it almost started its own franchise. I mean, it is almost its own franchise at this point. Christina, can you kind of talk to that a little bit?
Yeah, so it's called the Final Fantasy VII compilation.
Oh, okay.
So
I'm so glad we got the experts in on this episode.
So Final Fantasy VII has sort of a sequel game, kind of, Dirge of Cerberus, that focuses on one of the optional main characters, Vincent. I think it takes place after the events of Final Fantasy VII. It has a prequel that came out for the PSP called Crisis Core that follows
Zach.
Who, if you've never played Final Fantasy VII, I'm not going to tell you who Zach is, because it's one of the big twists of the game. And then there is a movie, Final Fantasy VII Advent Children, and an anime. There are books. There is, and now they're doing the remake series. There's also been at least 2 mobile games. First Soldier, which was like Battle Royale, but it's already been shut down. And then Ever Crisis, which is like a different retelling of the events of the rest of the compilation. Oh, and there was a previous mobile game before Crisis that was only released in Japan. And the events of it only really matter to Crisis Core, weirdly.
So we're now on spin-offs of spin-offs.
Yeah. That's what happens when you let Nomura go crazy.
And I honestly, I played Crisis Core and I thought that game was fantastic on the PSP. And then I do have the remake for PS5. Have not played it, assuming it's the same game.
Exactly the same game. Not one thing has changed.
Which is perfect. They shouldn't have changed anything about it. And then Dirge of Cerberus, I did start to play. I don't know.
It's not off. It's different than, it's like a first-person shooter.
Yes, that's what it was. And
yeah.
I'm not
that was released on PS2.
Yes, and I don't know. First-person shooters are cool, but they're just not my bag, so I just don't.
It's also funny that, like, it focuses on an optional party member. Yeah. Like, you don't have to have Vincent in your party. You have to do, like, a crazy amount of steps to get him. You have to, like, open a safe, you have to find a combination, open a safe, battle a monster, pick the correct dialogue choices, and then he'll join your party.
Yeah. I finished Final Fantasy VII with using a guide, and I still never even encountered Vincent.
Yes.
You have to go so far out of your way to encounter this character, and the fact that they made a whole game about him, I think just shows how wildly popular this game was and how hungry the appetite was for more content.
I will say that probably when Dirge of Cerberus came out in the mid-2000s, I think it was the perfect time because Vincent's like an edgy vampire kind of guy. So I think they were just sort of like playing towards the popular.
Yeah. The only thing I know about that game, I never played it, is that they curse a lot.
Yeah.
Like, it's super edgy. Like, that was like, they're like, this is our mature Final Fantasy game. So this game, I just want to note, is it's kind of the first game in the series that diverges from, like, the fantasy setting to, like, more of a sci-fi setting. Mm-hmm. I know 6 kind of had elements of it, but this one goes hard into sci-fi.
I would say it's like sci-fi, like steampunk-ish. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say this is like one of the pillars of like that aesthetic, the steampunk sort of aesthetic. Like in that, because it came out in 1997, so it was really one of the first like fully realized visions of that kind of look. And nothing epitomizes it better than Midgar, which is the main city that you spend half of the game in. The first half of the game in, it's this huge sci-fi city that's sprawling and it's gorgeous, like absolutely, like to this day the graphics still hold up really, really well. Like it's such an iconic city. Also, this game has a very dark story, darker than the previous ones. It's a more mature story. It's extremely convoluted, and even though I finished this game, I really have struggle explaining what the story was even about. I know, Christina, maybe I'm sorry.
You want me to boil it down?
Boil it down to mommy issues?
So there's a lot going on. So you start playing as Cloud Strife, who is a former member of this elite military outfit for Shinra, which is like the electric company of the game.
But is it really?
Like a mega corporation, ominous mega corporation.
Cloud has quit being a soldier and is now a mercenary for an eco-terrorist group called Avalanche. and they are blowing up Mako reactors because that's what is powering the city of Midgar, Mako, because it's stealing the life force of the planet.
That you're doing a great job so far.
Yeah, like Mako's like not a renewable resource.
Yeah, it's
finite.
This is again going back to like the nature versus technology kind of theme that I mentioned at the top of the episode.
And then there's also Sephiroth, who is a member of Soldier who went missing 5 years ago, and he's returned to
mess things up for everybody.
I don't really. Just having a good time. He is trying to... Okay, I have to go back because one of Cloud's companions in the original Final Fantasy, she was called Aerith, is part of an ancient race of people, and she's the last of her kind. And Shinra is trying to use her to get to the Promised Land. Sephiroth believes he's also a member of this race, because he found secret research documents that said his mother was part of this race. However...
Hence the mommy issues comment.
She's not. She is actually a calamity, and she, came to the planet to destroy it, and was defeated by the ancients, and then was later excavated by Shinra scientists who then decided to use her for science. They have her locked away, and Sephiroth was experimented on by Shinra as a baby also, so he thinks that Jenova is his mom. And then he realizes that she's actually this creature that's locked up, and he's real mad about it, and it just breaks him as a person. And then he is kind of killed, maybe, they think, or he's missing. Then he comes back because he wants to restore the world for the ancients. But he doesn't really, he seems like he's maybe a good guy, kind of going about, taking down Shinra too, but actually he's not. He's there to destroy the entire world because that's the only way to take it back. And then you're just trying to stop him. I tried to be spoiler free. There's so much more to it.
That was such a commendable effort. I have to applaud you because summarizing this game is not an easy feat.
No.
So I think you did an excellent job. I think everyone understands it to a T now.
Yeah, it's pretty much Sephiroth, it's he's like an anti-hero, but then trying to do what everyone else is trying to do, but in the wrong way.
Yeah, but then it turns out that he's not, and it's not even actually Sephiroth, it's Jenova, because she can take the form of other people, and Sephiroth's dead body is preserved elsewhere. You go find it, and then it's like, okay, maybe it is Sephiroth, but maybe it's Jenova, and it's...
Yeah, it just gets wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. This game is bonkers.
And while all of that is going on, Cloud is having an identity crisis.
Yes, where there's cloning involved and a whole bunch of other stuff, if I remember correctly.
Not quite cloning. He was also injected with Sephiroth's cells to do science.
Basically, technology bad.
Earth good.
Earth good. Terrorism
Science
good.
maybe bad?
Well, when you have a mad scientist named Hojo just doing kind of whatever he wants, then we run into trouble.
So, it's... If you're playing this game at... How old were we in 90s? You don't have to say, but...
Maybe genetics can be a fickle thing. Maybe that's the moral of the story.
Your genetics don't determine who you are.
Yeah.
For an 8-year-old playing this game, a lot can go over your head. And maybe you might take the wrong lessons away from the game, but the story aside, the game is still excellent. It does a lot of things right. It introduces it polishes the active time battle system that I talked about earlier. Mm-hmm. It adds a whole new system called Materia, where you can customize your weapons and spells to the nth degree, to an absurd level, which became extremely popular, and they carried aspects of that over to other games. The story itself, I said, was, it's convoluted to say the least, but it's dark, and it was sort of revolutionary at the time because can't really spoil it at this point, but there's permanent death of some characters, where in previous games, a character dies, you just start the level over again, and everyone's back to normal again. In this game, you suffer losses to people you are attached to. It's a heavy story. And I think, if people's thoughts of games back in 1997 were, it was probably, you get the high score or whatever. So now these are fully fleshed out stories with highs, lows, emotional arcs, and everything in between. And this game does have some
snowboarding,
some
chocobo racing.
So yeah, the absurd parts are still there too. Some of the mini games in this game are absolutely bonkers, crazy. What are some of your favorites, highlights and lowlights? My low light, I'll just while you guys are thinking, is the Fort Condor.
Oh my
battle.
god, Fort Condor is the worst.
Yeah. There's a whole mini game where you have to defend a tower from. Is it? I don't even know if it's.
So I have read that a lot of the Fort Condor and ridiculous things getting Vincent were put in the game specifically designed. This is a real problem with 9, to make people go to the strategy guides. So, and I think Fort Condor was one of those. There's no way an 8-year-old
no, and it's such a
is
time
going to know. You're going to win that purely by luck if you do at all.
Yeah, and it's such a time sink. I don't even think you can pause. It's just and it goes so slow. It was frustrating to say the least. But there are some fun things like snowboarding and riding a motorcycle. Those are fun.
Yeah, the motorcycle was fun.
I don't know chocobo racing.
Yeah, I did the chocobo racing. Does 7 have the digging too?
No,
Is
that's
that
9.
Yeah.
That's
I was
Chocobo
playing
Hot
9
Gold.
more recent than original 7, so I was I just remember digging for hours. I don't know what it is about it.
Chocobo Hot and Cold is the best game.
Oh, so good.
Now that they've added the same mechanic to Rebirth, I still accidentally use the buttons from Chocobo Hot and Cold, which doesn't help.
All right. So it looks like we're eager to move on from 7. So any other closing comments on 7? I will say New York Times did a big write-up on Final Fantasy VII when the remake was released about a month ago. So I'll put a link to both of those articles if you're curious. One's an article and one's a video montage they did with interviewing people on the importance of the game. I'll put those in the show notes. They're interesting. They're worth checking out. So basically for the rest of the history, I kind of am off and on here. So 8 came out 2 years after 7, I think. That's kind of... I missed that one. I went right to 9 after 7. Did you played 8, right?
I love 8. It has my favorite sad boy.
Yeah, I think a lot of people love 8 or didn't play.
Yes, 8 is a polarizing game because it has not as a convoluted story, but close to a convoluted story as 7. But also they totally changed the battle mechanics. So normally Final Fantasy games have summons where you summon a creature to do massive damage. And the way that you do it in 8 is they're called GFs, Guardian Friends, maybe. And you equip them and they boost your stats and stuff. But then you're you could only use them, you can only have one per party member. And then the magic system was changed and it's a draw system. So you no longer are have a way to learn magic. You draw magic out from other characters, enemies, and draw points. So it's sort of a weird system. And then you have to equip those instances of drawn magic into your stats to improve those. So it's also a very convoluted and hard to learn system.
One was... I remember... I was just double checking that I did play that one, and I did. Because I'm messed up with the numbers. I did not finish that game, though. I got stuck in space.
It's so good. You do go to space.
I got stuck in space.
There's also, like, time travel and all kinds of, like, crazy things that you were just like, this is not what I was expecting from this game at all, from a Final Fantasy.
Yeah, when I went to space, I definitely remember being like, what? And then I got into those really unfortunate situations where I saved and then, like, got into this battle and I just kept dying, and I would either just have to somehow luck out and defeat all the monsters in my way and, like, move on, but I can't go back.
Yeah.
Because I'm in space. And I couldn't go forward, so I just got stuck in this bad death loop, and that's why I was just kind of like, I'm done with this for now. I need a break.
You're also, like, a student at a school, too,
Yes.
which is strange.
Looking at the time right now, I know we have a hard out. Should we move ahead to 9 and kind of move along quickly? Okay. So 9 went back to the fantasy settings. It kind of got a little bit cuter and less edgy, which I kind of liked, as I guess I was like a 9-year-old at that point now, or a 10-year-old. I really have fond memories of 9. I think it's just a very charming game. I don't think the story quite reaches the highs of 7, but I think it's just a very charming game.
Yes, it's my absolute favorite one. It also has some terrible mini games, though, like the jump rope game.
Yep.
But it was also, like, the storyline was built to pay homage to all of the Final Fantasy games that came before it. So there are, like, big elements from other games. Like, you finally go back to the crystals being a big part of the series, and there are storylines that you can tell are, like, direct homages to other games. There's one for Final Fantasy VII that's, like, so obvious. I think it's the best. It's the best one.
I do love 9 a lot.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreed. 9 is a classic.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that game.
It still also had a lot of, like, the darker stories, like Vivi's whole
storyline. That whole thing was crazy.
So sad.
Yeah, Vivi singularly might be one of the most iconic of all characters across every Final Fantasy game. I mean, he may as well be the logo for Final Fantasy, if not Cloud.
He is based on, like, a generic, like, black mage from the original.
Yeah,
maybe.
In the Final Fantasy 1, if you choose the just the mage character, it's Vivi.
Yeah.
They don't name him Vivi, but it's him. So just in interest of time, we're going to just quickly go ahead because I know we spent a lot of time on 7. 10 was a game for the PlayStation 2. Huge jump in graphic quality. I know it's kind of a mix.
Voice acting.
First game with voice acting. It was a smash, huge, greatest hit for the platform. I know looking back on it now, there's a little bit of a division on whether or not it was so much of a classic or not, but I played it back in the day and I thought it was, like, blew my mind. Like, I couldn't understand how they made a game of that quality at the time. I don't know. If I went back and played it now, I'd be like, eek, but...
I started 10 and I didn't play that much of it, so I have not much to contribute about it. Besides then seeing the characters later on in Kingdom Hearts and being like, oh wow.
I was wondering how long it would take before somebody drops Kingdom Hearts in this episode.
Well, I mean, there is so much crossover with characters.
Well, that's for another episode.
That's a whole other episode.
So then 11 is the first game where they switch genres to a massive multiplayer online game, like kind of like akin to World of Warcraft, for those of you who aren't aware. I didn't play that one. I don't like MMOs.
Nope.
None of us did. 12, they go back to the original formula. I didn't play 12, but I've heard of it's stellar.
I haven't played 12, but I haven't played. I have a friend who absolutely loves 12 and replays it every year, though.
Okay, it's on my 2 playlist. This might even be the year I play it. We'll see. But I've heard it's stellar.
Yeah, I never played 12 either.
It came out, like, right at the tail end of PlayStation 2, like, as PlayStation 3 was, like, already announced, maybe, so maybe it kind of got overshadowed by that. And speaking of PlayStation 3, Final Fantasy XIII came out on PlayStation 3. Another very divisive game in the series. I personally love it. It's one of my favorites in the entire series. I love the battle system, which I can talk about a little bit later, but... The stories, I don't really remember the story, but I don't care because the battle system was so good, the graphics were incredible, and it was the most cinematic game I'd ever played up to that point. Like, I felt like I was watching, like, the best AAA action movie I've ever seen. So I have very fond memories of 13.
I think we recently spoke about the battle system in 13 and that we both very much enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's peak,
very different.
It's peak battle system in my opinion. 14, I think, is another MMO which I did not play. It was apparently fantastic because I think it's still going.
It's still going with DLCs.
15 was another controversial game. We could do a whole episode on just the development of 15, but we don't have time.
Another Nomura mess.
Yeah.
It was, but I mean, I still loved it.
I
didn't care for the story, but the gameplay and the aesthetic and the characters I did enjoy very much.
I think everyone who played the game enjoyed the characters. The story, I kind of liked once you fill in all the gaps, which you had to watch a movie and all that. I don't want to get into all that. But the thing I didn't like about this game is the battle system. I know some people really liked it.
I loved it.
It did not click with me personally, and it kind of... I mean, like I said, it's half of the game is fighting. So if you don't click with the battle system, you're not going to click with the game. So I didn't really care for 15, but I did really like the setting and the characters, and even the story.
The music was fantastic,
and the
too.
music, yeah.
Yeah.
And then 16 came out last year. It was a PlayStation 5 exclusive. I think it's still an exclusive, right?
I believe so.
I didn't play it. I don't have a PlayStation 5. But I think it was another divisive one, to say the least.
Yeah, people have a problem with the battle system because typically Final Fantasy games are like RPGs. Like, they have to be RPGs. And a lot of people were mad that the battle system was more like an action game, and you didn't have parties anymore. You were just really controlling one character.
Yeah.
But the overall story was fantastic.
Yeah, I will play it when it's not an exclusive to PlayStation 5 down the road. But yeah, I think it kind of shot itself in the foot, like, before it was even released, because the director was saying, like, I don't want to be trapped by the past of Final Fantasy. Like, I want to make the game that I want to make. And a lot of people, like, play Final Fantasy games because it's a Final Fantasy game, and we're upset to hear, like, we're dropping a lot of the stuff that made Final Fantasy what it was. But I haven't played it, so I don't have an opinion on it yet.
I have a lot of opinions, and I think that everybody who is mad about the battle system is wrong, because it's not that different from the battle system of 15. It's not that different from Kingdom Hearts. Nobody is mad that you can't control Donald in Kingdom Hearts. I take that back. Everybody is mad that you can't control Donald, because then there's whole memes about it. But I think it's a silly argument that really takes away from everything else that is good that's going on in the game.
For a franchise that prides itself on reinventing itself every single game, it's hard to be upset with what 16 inevitably did, because 17 is going to do something completely different. So,
well, and even going from remake to Rebirth, the battle system has had changes to it.
Yeah, and that's in the same series.
Yeah.
I think that's what a lot of people respect and are upset about with the Final Fantasy franchise, is they reinvent the wheel every time, for better and for worse. Sometimes they get some things right, some things wrong, but they're always wholly unique. And if you don't like one, there's another one right down the road. You don't have to wait too long.
Exactly.
So I had a little thought experiment / game to end the episode on. I know we're kind of short on time, but maybe we can do it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So I thought we could make our perfect Final Fantasy game. What do you think? So I'll go first as an example, if that's okay with you. So I kind of broke it up by, like, your favorite combat system, your favorite cast, your favorite setting, and your favorite story. So I'm kind of choosing from the entire franchise and slotting in, like, what game did all of those best, and then making, like, a game out of that. So my favorite combat system, I already touched on it, it's Final Fantasy XIII. It's the best battle system, in my opinion. It takes everything that the classic games did with the active battle system, and it just added a whole nother layer of strategy with what's called a paradigm system. So you can have all of your characters in certain roles. You have your medic, your sentinel who can kind of, like, absorb some of the damage. You have your damage dealers, your mages, all that stuff. But your paradigms are kind of can change the roles of all the characters on the fly to try to switch your strategy as you go. So it really made the game feel, like more cinematic, because you can choose all of your actions ahead of time and your characters will just perform them like you're watching a movie. And then you can switch the strategies on the fly. So if you're starting taking a lot of damage, you can switch to more of like a, let's bunker down and heal mode. Or if you want to go on the offense, you can switch to that paradigm. So it just felt like you were more engaged, where all the other games kind of felt like you were just choosing options out of a menu, or they just went full action game, which is not a genre I typically like. So 13, I think, is the best battle system. That's what I'm choosing for my combat system. Cast, I think I'm going with the cast of Final Fantasy IX over 7. I was going to choose 7, but 9 just has the most, I don't know. I like the character design, really, is what it comes down to. I think all the characters just epitomize what their roles are supposed to be, like in a classic role-playing game sense. Like you have, what's this? Steiner, who's like the knight. But like he looks like what he is supposed to do. He's just like this bulky dude who's wearing thick armor, like so all right, this is gonna be my tank.
He planks when he walks.
Yeah. And what about Quina?
Yep, Quina looks fantastic. Then you have Vivi, the mage we already talked about. Garnet, the healer. She's dressed all in white. She has the staff, just iconic. Like she looks exactly like what you expect her to be. All the characters look super, super cool, like in my opinion. They all just look very stylized and very cool. So that's my favorite cast. Setting, I chose Final Fantasy VII for reasons we already talked about. Just beautiful. Midgar is awesome. I love the smashing together of sci-fi and fantasy. So like you have all the Midgar sections, but then you go back into like a fantasy game with, Niflheim and going through the forests and all that stuff. And then story, I chose 7 again, just because it's the only one I can remember. Or kind of remember. I didn't understand half of what you were saying earlier.
I don't know that I understood half of what I was saying. I regularly have men on the internet tell me that I'm wrong about the plot of 7, because there's a lot of like open-ended stuff about like who's exerting whose will over who.
I'll make sure to forward you all the comments we get from the podcast. So that's my mashup of what makes my perfect Final Fantasy game. And if I had to pick like a look, I guess like late PlayStation 1 I think is like my favorite era of Final Fantasy. I love the look of those games.
Yeah, late 1. I would agree with that.
Maybe like 9.
Yeah.
But like with some a little bit more sci-fi. That would be my perfect game. Either of you want to go?
Okay, so what was it? Battle system?
You can do whatever you want. I chose battle system, cast, setting, and story. And then side game you can toss in too.
Oh, I'm going to toss in a side game. Battle system is going to be Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. It's sort of the classic ATB. You're building up your ATB so that you can make big, hard-hitting,
flashy
moves. But you're also just button smashing while you do that, which I love. And you have summons. You still have the same materia system. And your limit breaks, which I love. Cast would also be Final Fantasy IX. I just love them so much. But I would make some changes. I would put Beatrix in my party. I think she's the best character, and it's upsetting that you can never play as her. Story, I would do 8. I love the story of Final Fantasy VIII, even if it's weird. You get to go into space. You get a spaceship.
Yeah.
It's better than like the helicopter you get in 7.
You also get a submarine in 7.
You do. Talk about bad mini games.
What was that? Battle, cast,
story.
Setting and story. Or you did setting.
I did setting.
Or story you did Final Fantasy VIII.
Oh, I did.
I guess like what was the look? What's your favorite genre of?
What's my favorite look? That one's rough. I would go with original 7. Okay. Those polygons.
We love those.
No
polygons.
hands. Just squares. And I would add Chocobo Hot and Cold.
That's your side, yeah.
It's the best game.
Yep. I am in agreement with that.
You get 30 seconds to dig stuff up, and sometimes you get cool secret stuff. And you can upgrade your Chocobo so we can do more things until you get to like the Chocobo God.
We love it. We love it here. All right, Morgan, what's your favorite Final Fantasy game? If you could create one, let's close out the episode.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go off brand, and I do want to combine 2 battle systems. I would combine 13 and Rebirth together. After having started playing Rebirth, I think that adding like a paradigm shifting, because you do have some control over what your teammates are doing, and you can just switch to them and play as them, which you can with 13. But I think being able to switch the battle mode that you're in, like doing the paradigm shifting, like if you're like, we need to heal, like this is like, the boss is like kind of on the offensive right now, or being able to do that while you're also assigning tasks and like switching between characters would really be cool. Maybe overwhelming, I don't know. Cast, I mean, I have to say, like, I did love the cast of 9 the most. But 7 has like some of the characters are so complex too that I feel like I would want to combine some of them.
Yeah, that was a tough choice for me too.
Yeah, but I do like the story arcs for a lot of the characters in 9 the most, especially like Freya and Vivi and Quina too. I usually try and explore their story like a ton. And let's see, story, I think 7, I would stick with that. And setting's tough. I really like the setting of 15. But
I was going back and forth between
those two. I really like the setting of 15, so I'm kind of torn between. I feel like if you combine 15 and 8 together, it would be a really sick setting. All right. Yeah, and that's it for me. Oh, and obviously Chocobo Hot and Cold for a mini game. That's just. Yeah.
Well, that's all we got for Final Fantasy. Thank you all for joining me. And listeners, if you want to check out any of the movies, I know a few of the libraries have the movies, and some of them even have, well, the newer games certainly, but the Pixel Remaster, unfortunately, I think you're going to have to go out on your own and find it because it's very limited release.
Limited release.
Yeah. Well, anyways, thanks again for coming, and...
let's mosey.